The hosts of Bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
All right. There's a prize on the line. Okay. $500,000.
Okay.
You get $500,000 if you can successfully eat $300 worth of Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, any of the major fast food chains. $300 worth of food. You get to pick where you order the food from.
In one sitting?
One sitting. $300 worth of food.
Oh my God.
You get $500,000. What restaurant are you picking?
$300 worth of food.
That's
at any
so
fast
much.
Food restaurant.
That's so much. I don't think that's even realistic.
No.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean,
let's adjust it. Let's say $150.
Okay.
Because
any fast food restaurant. I'm trying to think of the most overpriced fast food restaurants, and the only thing my brain keeps screaming is Five Guys.
well, I
Their
mean that
burgers
is
God.
that is
are
overpriced, but
expensive.
that is also
A full ass meal.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that anything with too much bread that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But to me, the most overpriced fast food restaurant is Arby's.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not trying to scarf down a whole lot of Arby's at one time, you know?
Same, bro. $500,000.
You don't want a lot of those beef and
isn't
cheddars
worth,
going through you?
It's not worth the intestinal damage that would happen from eating that much.
I mean, this might
Arby's.
be obvious, but I feel like I have to go with Taco Bell.
Okay.
Oh, caveat. All right. So hold on.
You can't caveat someone else's scenario.
Let me ask then. Could we get it DoorDash to help bump up
Yeah,
that?
yeah. The $150 includes like delivery and shit. Absolutely.
Okay,
But it's
then definitely
just us
Taco Bell.
not sharing
Correct.
anybody.
Yeah. Now the sit down, let's say it's in 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
100% Taco Bell. I've
That's-
probably done that before.
That's happening. I mean, my toilets are going to get wrecked.
But you can buy
next
new
day.
toilets.
Yeah, for $500,000.
If you buy a $500,000 toilet, I'd come over.
It wipes you for it,
It's a gold bidet.
So what do you get at Taco Bell that brings it up to $150,000 or $150,000? $150. Like,
Dude,
'cause
no kidding. If you order through DoorDash, like 4 cheesy gordita crunches is going to be close to $50. And dude, I can smash 4 cheesy gordita crunches in a single sitting.
you can take some CGCs.
Yeah, without much effort.
I have in the past ordered 2 box meals for myself, and it was like $45.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like door dashing that, I could definitely, that chicken cantina burrito right now. I think I could eat $150 worth of those.
Realistically, we both just described a meal. We get 24 hours. That's 3 meals that you can easily do that. Throw in, what are those cinnamon curl?
Cinnamon twists.
Some cinnamon twists.
Yeah.
He was
throw a
halfway
few of those
there.
in there.
That's part of the cantina chicken burrito meal, I believe.
Oh, dude, I'm doing all like chalupa supremes or the cheesy gordita crunch.
That sounds like you're going to pay for
a lot
that.
of bread,
Yeah.
man.
It's,
Like,
You're
I
going to
love-
pay for that.
I love me a cheesy gordita crunch. It is easily the best thing that Taco Bell has ever created.
without question.
But even that, like that's a lot of filler. You know what I mean? Like give me $150 worth of chicken quesadillas because those are like $15 on their own anyway.
How about this? Prize on the line, $500,000. The person who can eat the most tacos
Well,
which
we've
one
done
of the
this
three of us?
before. I've done this before. We had a taco eating contest at work. Weren't you there for that?
I was not there for that.
I don't recall that.
Maybe that was before you guys came, but they were going to do hard tacos from Taco Bell and then realized that might be a choking hazard.
Yeah.
So then they got soft tacos, but they got it like an hour and a half before the contest began. So all of the paper had like melted onto the tortilla. I ate more paper than I did taco.
All the lettuce congealed. But okay, so let's say we're getting fresh tacos. Which one of the three of us do we think is coming out on top? Are we all just going to vote for ourselves here?
I mean, look, dude, I am heavier than both of you fellas.
I don't know.
That doesn't mean anything. Have you seen the guy who wins the Nathan's hot dog contest? He ain't the biggest guy.
He's got a really long throat. No, I don't know how. First of all, I think that you're underestimating my ability to pound food. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe, but you're also underestimating my ability. I think there's only one way to settle this.
That's true. That's true.
Sounds like we have another stream opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, look, hey, hold on. What is?
It'll be the grossest stream.
Timing out. Go ahead.
What are you guys doing in the next couple weeks? Can we plan a guys' night, where we have a live streamed eating contest of Taco Bell tacos, and then follow that up with watching random movies or TV shows or porn or something?
What? I'm okay with some of that plan.
Yeah.
You lost me right there at the end.
I was going to say I'll bring the toilet paper, but then you said porn, and now I don't.
Wait, why would you add porn in there, Dan? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, we're not gaslighting.
Editor.
Not going to show. Sure. I will find out who comes out on top.
And
I think it's going to be me.
When it's me.
I'm going to laugh so hard when both of you lose to me.
That poor bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Wherever
it's going to be a Scott.
We have to do it at a place that has at least 3 bathrooms, preferably 4, so that anybody else in that house can go somewhere safe.
I do think it's important for us to say this is not sponsored by Taco Bell, but if they would like to sponsor it,
yeah, please do.
bracketologypodcast@gmail.com. Just throwing that out there to Taco Bell.
And thank you for your cheesy gordita crunches.
Straight up, honestly, hand to God. You know what I mean? Love cheesy gordita crunches. Like, honestly, when it was seasonal and then they took it away, I've never been so mad at an entity in my life.
I literally grabbed a pitchfork.
Scott, did you grab a tiki torch or?
Nah, I never really cared for the cheesy gordita crunch that much.
Oh, God.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Anyway.
I don't know if we can continue this. Out of all the terrible votes that you've had, that is the worst one.
I don't know if I ever really... Did I even ever have one?
Oh, God, dude. What have you been doing with your life?
Seriously. God, having children and bettering society.
I'm not a big ranch fan. The Cali ranch sauce is a deal breaker.
But it didn't used to be the ranch. It used to be a Baja sauce is what it was called. I would get it extra Baja sauce. Even with the ranch, I'm still good. It's still top tier Taco Bell. We may have to have a Taco Bell bracket.
I mean, it sounds like you guys already decided a winner.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. You can call me Daddy. I am Scott Grubb.
I refuse to call him Daddy because he's disgusting. I'm Matt Robinson.
I don't want to be associated with this show anymore. I'm Dan Default.
We just got his resignation letter.
Yeah.
This week we continue part 2 of round 1, Best TV Moms. Super excited to get into this. I'm actually really excited because we kick it off with probably the debate I'm most excited for this side of the bracket.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to start it right off. I'm excited. We got Jill Taylor from Home Improvement versus Marge Simpson from The Simpsons.
Jill.
Okay.
I was trying to do some grunts and then my voice decided to give out. Yeah, this is definitely a slobber knocker of a matchup right up front.
I feel like they're when you really start to think about it, they're very similar.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I'm just going to throw it out there. Not gonna beat around the bush. I watched a lot more Home Improvement than I did The Simpsons.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I only watched like a few seasons of The Simpsons. It just didn't click for me very much.
You know, I would say if you take it like percentage wise, I've watched a greater percentage of Home Improvement than I have the percentage of Simpsons I've seen.
793,000 episodes of The Simpsons.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Isn't The Simpsons like the longest running animated show ever? And it's not even close?
If it's not, it should be.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'd be amazed if it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Talking about Best Mom, I just feel like Jill walks around that house every day preventing literal fires from consuming their entire lives all day long. For all of her kids. And she had 3 successful children that grew up, and, you know, Mark might have had a goth phase and there might've been that weird, like, Columbine-esque episode. But outside of that, she did a pretty good job raising her kids.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they threw some serious episodes in that show, so they had some like real moments they had to deal with. I still remember like all the promo and like all of the hype that was built around when we're going to reveal that
Randy's the youngest. No, Randy's the middle. Sorry, that's JTT.
No, Mark was the
youngest.
No, Mark.
Oh,
was
you're
the
right. Mark was the youngest. Yeah.
Brad was the oldest.
Did you guys know that Mark now works for Elon Musk, creating vegan cheese? What was his actual name?
I'd like to ask a follow-up question. What makes you think that Scott and I follow the life of a former child actor, and B, an employee of Elon Musk?
Yeah, I literally Googled because I remember his character going through that goth phase, and I thought I remembered something happening where that was something that the actor was actually going through himself, and the producers wrote that into the story because, you know,
that's what he looked like now.
Yeah, well, and it kind of made sense for the series because the other 2 children in that show were kind of, you know, cookie cutter, the popular kids.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of ran with it from a writing perspective. I don't know. That's why I looked it up and I found out that he made vegan cheese and works for Elon Musk.
I mean, good for them. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to this debate. I mean, both of them have husbands that definitely don't make their day-to-day any easier.
Yeah.
I think both of them are trying to make the best of what they've got. I think Jill is a little better off, it seems like, but still. But Jill's got 3 boys, and let me tell you what, I have 1, and that's a handful sometimes. And she had to deal with some serious stuff sometimes. I think it's Jill Taylor, which I think is surprising, but I think it's Jill Taylor.
So for me, I think it comes down to like what they had to deal with, and Homer in and of himself was a handful, and Bart was a handful, but Maggie and Lisa were kind of pretty, you know, pretty set. Marge also, I know that she had like one-off episodes where she worked as like, I think one time she was a police officer, and there's been a couple other things, but for the most part, she was a stay-at-home mom raising those kids. Jill Taylor was doing everything while also being employed. I think that speaks to Jill Taylor. She's getting my vote. Sorry, Marge.
All right. Well, fairly easy. Jill moves on. I would agree. I mean, I think that I do think that Marge Simpson was a good mom, is a good mom. But at some point, you got to let your kids grow up. They've been the same age for like 30 years.
Yeah, that's true. Maggie hasn't learned to talk in 30 years. Come on.
I mean, she does say at least one word at some point, I think. But that moves us into our next matchup.
Hold on.
What?
That does bring up the point that Marge Simpson did raise a future president. Female president, no less.
You're not wrong.
Does that change our vote?
She also raised a future Homer.
That's true, too.
So scales are balanced?
All right, moving on.
So our next matchup that we have, this is one that I think is interesting and more, definitely more the millennial era of TV moms. Catelyn Stark versus Gemma Morrow. So Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones. Gemma Morrow is...
Sons of Anarchy.
I was trying to come up with a fun way of putting it, but thanks.
Oh, sorry. I just thought you lost it.
Dick ass. Sons of Anarchy. I know that this is going to be... Have either of you watched Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have.
You haven't?
I have
Dan?
not. I mean, I've seen enough to know that her character is played by Peggy Bundy.
No.
But
that's Katie Seagal.
Yeah.
One of the best actors and voice actors of her generation, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Truly.
She's great.
She has a range that is so wide. But Gemma Morrow...
Her performance as Gemma Morrow is should be, if it's not already, should be award winning.
I mean, her and Ron Perlman are incredible
so good
in that show. But Gemma, like, you look at it and it's a biker gang, right? And there's drugs and there's sex and there's, all kinds of crazy things happening. But Gemma is the rock of that show.
She's still like a mother figure
to everybody.
Yeah.
To everybody at the club, to her own child, to her child's baby mama, who ends up going through some crazy shit. Like, she is a hell of a mom and somebody that I would sincerely like to have as a mother, considering in this scenario.
However, spoiler alert, she did some pretty fucked up stuff.
Sure, but
to her own son.
Well, let's be real. Jax is not exactly the least deserving. Anyway, but then you have Catelyn Stark. So, spoiler from Game of Thrones, Catelyn Stark, the mother, the matriarch of the Stark family. She has 4 kids of her own.
Well, no,
No, 5. 5
Arya,
kids.
Sansa, Rob, John didn't count, and Brandon. So 4.
First of all, and Rickon, which is the youngest
Oh,
son,
yeah, and Rickon.
who just disappears from the show, by the way.
No, he doesn't disappear.
Well,
he is
does.
killed in a brutal way.
After not being in 30 episodes.
Yeah, because he's like a prisoner.
Anyway, look. Catelyn Stark gets murdered when her son at the Red Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing why I'm going to go with Gemma as my vote is because the show then immediately loses everything that Catelyn Stark was supposed to be per the books.
Yeah, I agree, but we aren't basing it just off her characterization, or are we?
No, we're not basing it.
TV adaptation, or is it the core material that
it is
based on?
Not best nonfiction mom. It is best TV mom.
But the TV mom was based on that character from the book.
But anything that happened in the book is irrelevant.
Oh, That's lame sauce.
It's best TV mom, not best nonfiction mom.
And I think that that's important because realistically, when we were putting this bracket together, one of the things that we wanted to do is to make sure that mothers of all kind are on this bracket, right? Whether you're a biological mother, an adopted mother, a stepmother, whatever it happens to be, I think that all moms are moms. Catelyn Stark kind of fits that a little bit with a stepmom, adopted mom role with Jon Stark, but in the show, or Jon Snow, but in the show, she hates Jon.
Yeah, and she hates
and treats him terribly.
She favored her own children, but yeah, she never said anything kind. She always had a disapproving look when she looked at Jon.
I loved the character of Catelyn Stark in the books. I read the Game of Thrones books. They are never going to be finished.
No.
But in the show, she just didn't carry herself as the best TV mom.
She was an honorable woman that would do anything up until, including die for her children. She wasn't nice to Jon, but she didn't mistreat him either.
I have to ask a quick question of Matt. And again, I'm going to throw a spoiler alert tag in here. Matt, I know you haven't seen all of Sons of Anarchy. I know you stopped at some point. Let me ask you this. Gemma kills somebody in the show that ultimately really is kind of the catalyst that leads to the end events of the whole series. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Gemma kills?
Believe so.
Have you seen it? Like, did you watch far enough in the show to see?
So I watched all the way up until they were in prison. And then once Opie died, who was one of the only redeemable characters left in the show, I gave up. So
I don't remember.
Yes. Yeah. No, I did know that though.
Okay. Cause that's a pretty significant detail. I mean, you're going into a lot of lore here with Game of Thrones, and I'm sitting here, just hearing like a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse theme song repeating in my head, cause I have no interest in Game of Thrones at all. Oh. But again, Gemma is a mom to everyone in the gang, but her most damning act is against her own son. I mean, there's no other way to say that. And it's a pretty brutal, damning thing that she does, Yeah,
and that's why I'm voting for Catelyn Stark, because
I have to say this. I have to. It is Catelyn.
Please do.
Catelyn Stark.
It is Catelyn. It was spelled wrong when I put this bracket together. It is Catelyn.
That's because I was the one that was left up to spelling it, and I don't like the show.
Well, anyway, my vote is going to Catelyn Stark. I think she is a tremendous mom that does her best to raise her children under terrible circumstances. And when things go really south, she does everything she can to protect and guide her children. And in the books, even after death.
No, stop. No one cares. Listen, if there's one thing we can say about bracketology, it's that we're not interested in books.
That's a lie. I dispute that. I listen to and read a lot of books.
Yeah, same.
No, you don't, Dan.
All of the art in my house are book related.
So, okay, just for a little context for me, what is like... You said a lot of conjecture there about how Catelyn Stark is a great mom and does everything she can to protect her kids. Like, can I get it? I heard a lot of debate about like kind of the negative side of her. What is it that she does so good? You said a lot about how she hated Jon, but like, what does she do? Give me an example of something good.
Okay. After Ned Stark is captured in King's Landing for finding out the truth about Cersei's incest babies, she kidnaps Tyrion Lannister to try to sue to get her daughters back. right? Because at that point, Sansa and Arya were still in the capital, basically being held captive. Well, Arya escaped, but anyway, she was doing that to try to get her children back. Then when Robb Stark marched, she helped pull together all the bannermen. She helped try to guide his military decisions.
I said one, man. I said just an example. That I was plenty. I appreciate it. Thank you. So now what I'm gathering is that these two people sound very similar to each other.
Yeah, but the worst thing that Catelyn ever did was not be terribly nice to Jon Snow. Gemma.
So Matt, what puts Gemma? So since you have the wealth of knowledge of both characters, what puts Gemma above Catelyn for you? Because to me, Dan made a pretty good case.
I mean, I think with Gemma, for me, the biggest thing is just being. I don't know. I think that there is something to be said about being a mother
to many,
and mm-hmm. to the acceptance, right? And not saying that, you can't fuck over your own kid and that you can't make mistakes and you can't do terrible, terrible things. That happens. But I do mm-hmm. think that Gemma adopts the club as mm-hmm. they're all her children. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everybody she cares for. She takes care of.
I think though.
Hold on. Let's back up, because Jax does some shitty stuff too. All right. And she has a line, and I'm okay with that.
I think that Gemma's greatest sin though has so many ramifications for her family. If the worst Catelyn did was shun he was a bastard son, right? Okay, yeah. I mean, that's pretty for the times, I'm gonna have to, even though I've never watched the show, I'm gonna have to put ahead Catelyn Stark. Gemma's fuck up was pretty bad, man. It's bad. And again, this goes back to, you got to finish that show because it has some ramifications. I don't even know if you realize the whole ripple effect there.
All right. Well, Catelyn moves on. And that moves us to our next.
That was a long matchup. Debate for round one. We gotta.
Yeah. I know. That's
kick
why I'm
another gear.
Trying to keep it going. Sophia versus Vivian Banks.
Sophia from Golden Girls, Vivian Banks, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So Sophia, this is the quote unquote oldest one on the show, right?
That is correct. She was Dorothy's mother.
Yeah, and I say quote unquote because I know that she was like a whole 2 years older than
younger.
B. Arthur was older than.
Oh, was she? Okay, so yeah. I'm not wrong on that. I was trying to play it safe with just a couple years. So here's the thing. I know a lot about it. I've never seen an episode of Golden Girls.
What?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I used to watch all kinds of old TV shows and stuff. And I enjoy the clips that I've seen. I enjoy when, people talking about it, things like that. It never caught me. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, on the other hand, I used to watch that shit all the time. And I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find a better mom than Vivian Banks.
Well, again, we've had this argument before, though.
She had it pretty easy.
Yeah, Vivian Banks didn't work. She lived in a super luxurious mansion, and she had a butler to do all of the cooking, cleaning, everything. And I'm not taking away from the other hardships of being a parent, and especially taking in, your nephew and providing him with a good house.
That's true. That's a pretty good mom move right there.
Yeah, there are definitely good things that she's done. And she is a fantastic mom, but there is a whole level of motherhood that she is not experiencing like Sophia did, even though in Golden Girls we don't see that aspect. but Vivian isn't doing the laundry. Vivian isn't making the food, you know.
Hold on, because I want to throw a hand grenade into that argument that you just made, because that is not a mother's job to do.
I'm not saying that's a mother's job to do. It's somebody's job to do.
Yes, and she happens to be in a situation where her and her husband have worked hard enough to be able to afford a butler who can do some of those things for them. However, what she did was raise 3 children that throughout the show prove they are good people. How many rich-ass motherfuckers have you met that are not good people because their parents raised them terribly or didn't raise them at all? Vivian was there. And Carlton, throughout the show, improves Will's life, improves his sister's life, and Vivian is the one to blame for that. Not saying that Uncle Phil wasn't a part of it as well, but
they were both stellar parents.
Yeah. I think you're hard-pressed for anybody to go up against Vivian Banks. Like, I watched that show and truly... Like, I've never had mother envy. I love my mom. She is incredible, an incredible person, an angel sent from heaven. But if I had a different mom, I would want it to be Vivian Banks. Also, she's rich, and that would be fun.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool, too. Damn, you did take that to a level I did not really think about as far as raising 3... very privileged non-pricks.
I mean, even the oldest daughter, right? Who starts the show kind of being an asshole and being entitled. And Vivian puts her in her place multiple times. Like, it's not like that just goes unchecked.
Yeah, but you're not giving any flowers to Sophia, who also raised a really wonderful daughter, right?
Strong, independent woman.
Yep. And there's also things, you're talking about the 80s, that they tackled a lot of things. I remember an episode very vividly where Blanche had a problem with a guy that she knew being a homosexual, and Sophia sat her down and was like, if you love, this person, why is it wrong for them to love each other? What's the difference? And that whole tone in a show that came out in the 80s, it's a pretty big deal. And that was Sophia having that conversation. Sophia is a great mom. And this is a situation where, unlike with like Peg Bundy, where you guys were saying that was their love language, was being incredibly mean to each other, this actually shows what that could look like, where those things say and happen. They make those jokes, but there is nothing but love that backs it. And that's the same with all of those characters.
I don't want to take away from Sophia too much, but wasn't she also incredibly horny all the time?
No, you're thinking of Blanche.
You're thinking of Blanche.
I thought she made some jokes too, and that was...
Folks, this is still round 1. We got to keep going. Yeah. What's your vote?
Vivian.
I'm going Sophia.
Vivian Banks moves on.
Okay.
No disrespect to the girls of gold or their matriarch, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, again, she definitely raised a successful, strong-willed, independent woman who did well for herself and loved her mom enough to stick around and take care of her. But I think Matt had good points about Vivian Banks. So up next, we've got Lily Munster from the Munsters versus Joyce Byers from Stranger Things.
This is kind of an interesting matchup.
This is not an interesting matchup. It is 100% Joyce Byers all the way.
Wait, what's Joyce Byers from?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Everything that she does for her kids, friends, for 11. I mean, she risks her life to save the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much more mommy than that.
On more than one occasion.
Yeah.
And she does so.
But for her, it's not about saving the world. It's about saving her kid.
Her son.
The world just happens to be a benefit.
Can
Yeah.
I?
The other one is just Lily Munster. Like, I mean, it's Morticia Adams part 2.
Disagree on that because the Munsters had a black sheep of the family, which was their daughter, who was just a beautiful girl and didn't know where she fit into the dynamic of their family and their world. And Lily Munster was a big part of helping her to feel like she could be a part of, again, her family, their family, the world, and allowed that to blossom. I think that Lily Munster has more to her than Morticia Adams. Morticia Adams was very much all up on
Mr. Adams.
Mr. Adams
Gomez?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
And that was her main focus, whereas Lily Munster was really, she was a mother. However, yeah, man, like, I do think there's something to be said about Joyce Byers' inability to be there for both of her children. Because while, yes, she was mainly focused on saving Will and in doing so saving the world, I feel like her older son got kind of the short end for a lot of
Look,
that.
man, she's a single working mom and he's an old enough teenager to help out. Like, that's the reality right there, brother.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's everyday life for millions of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, Joyce, and think about this, like when her son went to the Upside Down for the first, in that first season, she was doing everything she could, despite everybody in her world telling her that she was nuts.
She never gave up hope. She figured out how to communicate with him
She was
when no one
going
else
to
could.
save her son, regardless of what anybody thought.
Hell or high water.
Fuck the world, my son is getting saved. That makes her the better mom.
All right, Joyce Byers, moving on.
Joyce moves forward.
We got to keep those easy ones nice and short.
All right, that moves us to the next matchup that we have. That's the wrong line.
There you go.
Mary Winchester versus Lois Wilkerson.
This one,
This is a very different.
These are
They are very different characters.
Mary Winchester being of Supernatural, Lois Wilkerson being of Malcolm in the Middle. Little known fact, their last name was Wilkerson. I think it's I don't even think it's actually ever said in the show. I think it was recorded as part of a pitch that was never aired. But anyway.
So I think there are a couple things to talk about here. Mary Winchester from Supernatural, not directly in her kids' lives. Most of them,
Died trying to save them,
but did die trying to save
Yeah.
her youngest son, Sam. And then throughout the series, does come back into his life.
Spoiler alert.
Numerous times, both as a younger version of herself and, in heaven and coming back to life from heaven and being a mom, not just to Sam and Dean, but also being a mom to Jack in a way that he
True.
needed. Even if he does, spoiler, end up killing her.
Saves many people many times.
She's a hunter. She's strong. She's powerful. Was really the protector of that family until she no longer could.
Clearly was even in the moments that we don't see, was clearly a good mom because of the way she protected her kids from the reality around them. And also you can tell just because of the attachment that Dean has to her in particular.
Well, and even Sam,
Being
who
the older
literally, Sam even says at one point, I spent 7 days with my mom. He barely knew her, didn't know her at all, but he still had that connection. And when he's able to meet her for the first time, oh my God, tears in his eyes, that connection is huge.
Mm-hmm.
However, Dan, Lois.
I wasn't going to say anything about Lois.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just going to say something about Mary Winchester. Do you think...
She's a smoke show? 100% in every way.
Do you think that it was not a good motherly trait for her to continue to hunt after her children were born?
First of all,
She didn't.
She didn't. She gave up hunting when she found out she was pregnant.
Yep.
So
She just went back to it when she was brought back to life, but they were already in their 30s at that point.
And they were hunters,
late
so
20s?
It just made sense. No, they were in their 30s by then.
Yeah. So, Lois Wilkerson, Malcolm in the Middle. This, I think, again, goes back to some of the conversation we had with like Marge Simpson, Jill Taylor. This is a woman whose husband is not making her life any easier. She has 3 boys that she's trying to take care of them. One of them happens to be a genius. One of them is very Bart Simpson-like in the way that they get in trouble all the time. One of them's just kind of weird.
Yeah, then there's Dewey.
Yeah. I mean, this woman's got her hands full. She's also, I believe, employed, right? Again, a very modern take on the family life. Like when it's a very middle class.
It's nuclear. It's a nuclear family in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure. Very, I think, representative of the population of the time that it's shown, you know? But she's not out there killing vampires.
Well, and here's the thing. Mary kills some important fucking monsters. Like it's not like she was just, poking random Wendigos in the woods with a pig sticker. Like she was in it, you know? I think she killed an angel at one point. Like, there's a whole thing.
But even after being brought back to life, she does kind of just like ditch them for a long periods of time. And I get that she's got some of her own mental shit going on. The whole dying and then being brought back to life thing could be kind of traumatizing. Yeah. But that's not a super great motherly trait. I feel like Lois is always there for her kids. Like, that's unrelenting. She's always going to be there for them. And there's definitely moments where she like provides like pearls of wisdom and support and all that. Sorry, Dan.
And she's also ferociously protective of her. Like, there are multiple times in that series where something is threatening their child, whether it's like another kid or whatever the case may be, and she is ferocious to protect them.
Yeah. All right. That's an interesting thought.
This may be somewhat recency bias. It might also just be bias in general, but I'm going to go with Mary Winchester. I think that she's not only a good mother, I think she is also integral to the development of her kids even after her death.
Okay. Doofa, what do you think?
I don't know. You go.
All right. I mean, if you want, I am much more of a Supernatural fan as a show, but I think when it comes to being a mom, I'm not holding her death against her. No fault of her own there. If anything, it's a plus. She died protecting her son. But that whole like just disappearing and then being shady and keeping secrets from your kids, especially knowing how fucked up Dean was after you came back, like, I just don't know that that was the best approach. And I think you're right, Dan. I think Lois's ferocious defensive protectiveness of that's mama bear energy to a T. I think I'm going to have to go Lois. So now you get to break the tie.
Yeah, I think Mary Winchester just had so many opportunities to be there for her kids, and she wasn't. And Lois was kind of always there. That being said, you're talking about Mama Bear energy. Mary Winchester literally died for her children and then came back to life and had to deal with all of that trauma and still found a way to reconnect with their children through all that. Mary Winchester gets my vote.
Moving on.
You're muted, Matt.
You're still muted, Matt. You're unmuted, Matt. Welcome back.
Next up, I did have other comments, but next up, who do we got?
Sharon Osbourne from the Osbournes.
And also real life.
Yeah, and actually the only IRL person on this list, but from reality TV. And Lois Griffin from Family Guy.
Yeah, I can't. I've got to be honest about something. I've watched a lot of Family Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Lois is not a good mom.
No, not at all. Like, she openly mocks Meg on a pretty regular basis.
Everybody openly mocks Meg.
But like,
to the point
but her own
of like
mom
suicidal
joins in.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Like Meg gets pretty fucked over, let alone excuse me, the awkward, I don't know, the enabling that Lois gives to Stewie to fetishize his mother.
You're gonna have to speak on that.
Yeah, I'm not.
We don't have time for that. So
okay.
But Sharon Osbourne is objectively the only real mom on this list.
Yeah,
I mean, that's true. Well, now hold on though. If we use that as a caveat, then that just means she wins. Like, that's the end of the.
But in this particular matchup, I think that she didn't. She helped raise multiple children when a man that she's married to, Ozzy, had many other responsibilities and commitments that he needed to give to with his band and with his touring and everything else, let alone once he started to have some of his mental
I was about to say crippling mental breakdowns due to ridiculous drug use.
Yeah,
like, do you know what Ozzy Osbourne was doing in the 70s and 80s?
He at least bit the head off of one bat.
Yeah, oh, dude.
But in addition to corralling Ozzy, right, and being a mother considering that, she also had Jack Osbourne, who has a physical impairment, does he not?
Yeah. And
so being able to be there and to raise him to be a successful, I believe he's a director now. Like, I think he's in like the movie business doing some pretty good things. And then Kelly Osbourne, I don't know, to me, other than the fact that she's the only real mother on this list, I think Sharon Osbourne is a good mom. She may have allowed some crazy to be in the life a little bit too much at times, but she's raised some pretty good kids.
And I think that goes back to the Vivian Banks thing, right? But this is IRL, where she raised kids from privilege, and as far as I know, they're not dicks.
I think that something that has to be said is that everyone has their own way of doing it, right? And no one way is right. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people would. I think there are a lot of people out there, especially when that show was on, who would judge the way Sharon Osbourne did things, but she did things her way and the way that worked for her family, and screw everyone else. And I think that, again, like you said, she is a hell of a lot better than Lois Griffin just openly mocking Meg. So yeah, I'm going to agree and say Sharon Osbourne for sure.
All right. On that note, just a side point. Did you guys know that there's a third Osbourne kid named Amy?
Yeah, she never wanted to be on the show.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. She's very attractive.
Wow. Okay, that's all.
Claire Huxtable versus Edith Bunker.
Also interesting matchup.
Similar time periods. Well, ish. In
I
that
was
they
about
were
to say.
In that they were both more than 40 years ago.
The question here, how much All in the Family have either of you watched?
I've watched enough to know how racist Archie Bunker is.
Sure, yeah.
And how terrible he treats his son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Edith, though, Edith's not I mean, again, kind of going back to it, I think this might have been a common trope in 70s and 80s TV shows. She's very much the rock of that family. Like, she is the sane one in a lot of ways. She's
the one that's always in the corner going, oh, Archie. Like, that's a trope of that time frame, kind of just like a hand on the hips, side eye look, like he just said something racist and this is how we're going to let him get away with it. His wife thinks it's endearing. I don't know.
Yeah. I think she puts up with a lot in that show, and probably not for the better of herself or those around her, but that's just because her husband was kind of terrible. On the other hand, you have Claire Huxtable, who the show dad was awesome. The actor that portrayed him,
we don't need to get into that. That's irrelevant.
Not awesome.
Irrelevant for Claire Huxtable.
We're not talking about that man.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is Claire Huxtable, who,
incredibly intelligent woman,
incredibly intelligent woman, raised again multiple children.
17, I think, were in that show.
Children?
How many kids did? Yeah, how many kids were there?
That seems like a lot. There's no way.
It wasn't really. I know I'm exaggerating. It was like 5, wasn't it? Dude, I don't even know how many Cosby kids there were.
Legitimately made me like question so many things.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there were 5. Sandra, Denise, Theodore, Vanessa, and Rudy.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all girls.
No.
What am I missing?
Also, no. Theo.
Yeah,
oh,
sorry.
Oh, Theo. He's not showing up in my thing. That's why.
Theo was the oldest.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Sandra. Yeah, you're right.
Theo was middle.
I think for me, there's an episode. I don't know why it sticks out in my head, but there's an episode of The Cosby Show where Theo is getting ready to go to college or something, and his father and Claire put together this elaborate thing to prepare him for the real world. And again, Mr. Huxtable was a doctor. They were financially
quite sound.
Yeah, family. But that being said, like they were teaching him like the value of $1, and you get an apartment, it's this much a month. Well, you're gonna need furnishing for it, right? Well, you're gonna need food for it, and he had to go through all of these different things to figure this out. And it was, I thought, a really good life lesson, one of many that Claire Huxtable gave to her children.
I think it's Claire Huxtable, right?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Claire.
Yeah, I think Claire Huxtable has to definitely move forward here. It's the Huxtables.
Interesting point here now. We ended our last episode with Dee Dee Pickles versus Jane Jetson, an interesting animated matching. We're going to end this one the same way. We have Linda Belcher from Bob's Burgers versus Dexter's mom from Dexter's Laboratory. The only one who is nameless. There is at no point in any recorded Dexter's Laboratory history is there a name for her. She is just Dexter's mom.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I talked about this during the Bob's episode. I've never watched Bob's Burgers.
That's upsetting as well.
But I've watched a ton of Dexter's Lab, and Dexter's mom is a big part of that.
Okay, yeah, she's a big part of the show, but is she a good mom? Well, she has an entire gigantic laboratory attached to her house that she is unaware of.
As far as you know.
No, you have it. That is an emphasis of the show. Is that
Dexter? A secret?
Yeah, Dexter has this whole.
He's also like
lab.
7, so like he could think it's secret, and she just.
Is it all his imagination?
No, because he's a brilliant child, and to be a mother of a brilliant child, especially one that clearly has some social irregularities, is difficult.
Omelette du fromage.
Is that the only thing you remember from Dexter's Lab?
Oh, no, but I mean, that's the thing that everyone remembers from Dexter's Lab. Omelette du fromage. Yes. Okay. Again, giant laboratory attached to her house that she is unaware of.
Also, I might be remembering this wrong, but she was like OCD in her level of cleaning. I think she always had the little rubber gloves on, or at least that's my memory of her.
Maybe. I also remember her being kind of like flighty, like. Am I thinking that wrong? Oh yeah, no, she definitely always had the gloves on. She always had an apron on. And she's just kind of like, is ditzy the right word? Is that right? Linda Belcher, again, you want to talk about a mama bear defensive of her kids who will come out swinging. That Linda Belcher's bringing that New Jersey energy right there. She's got it. Oh man. And the Christmas episodes.
I was about to say the things that she tries to do for her family for the holidays.
For sure. One of my favorite tropes in Bob's Burgers is that there's always 3 holiday episodes, and each one revolves around a different part of the family unit. So the Halloween one is always focused on the kids, and it's always their attempt to trick or treat, and it goes horribly wrong every time. Thanksgiving is always focused on Bob, and he always wants to make the best Thanksgiving dinner, and it goes wrong every fucking time. And then Christmas, Linda always wants to have the most magical, amazing Christmas for her family that she can possibly put on. And then again, something goes wrong every time. But she is the one out of the three that we just talked, who gets the closest every time, you know? And I mean, she's part owner in a small business. She's raising 3 kids I mean, it's Linda Belcher for me. Matt, Thanksgiving, we're going to watch one of the Thanksgiving episodes of Bob's Burgers. We'll pick one because they're all so good. Watching Bob fail miserably to make Thanksgiving dinner pleases me every time.
I'm glad there's something that pleases you. I think I've got to go with Dexter's mom just because of familiarity, to be honest with you. Not knowing Linda Belcher or her tendencies, but that's just me.
Yeah, having watched both shows, like Dexter's mom was definitely there, and she kept a spotless home, but she was also, again, unaware of,
as far as you know,
the giant laboratory and all the things that he did. Like, let's say that she was aware. Like, would you as a parent knowingly allow your kids access to nuclear
plutonium?
Yeah, plutonium.
If my kid is Dexter, maybe.
Do you see how often the things that Dexter tries to do go poorly? It's the whole reason there's a show. It's a plot point.
That's what I'm saying. So for me, because of that, Linda gets my vote.
All right.
I appreciate that, Doofa.
So that moves us into the next round. We have officially completed round 1 of Best TV Mom for this holiday season.
That is right. Next week, we'll move over to the east side again. I don't know at the time that we're
16.
Ooh, I like the supportive 16.
Supportive 16.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I don't know yet, as we're recording this, if we will have settled the Chili Healer versus Morticia Addams debate prior to you hearing this, but we will definitely have it prior to hearing the next episode. We will have our watch party and then debate it out. So we got that to look forward to. What else we got to say here at the end? I don't want to do it all again this week.
Well,
somebody else say something.
I think that it's important for us to just take a moment and reflect on our time. We've been together now for 38 episodes, and we want to give as much work as possible to Scott. So go for it, Scott.
What do you mean as much work as possible?
Go ahead and close us out.
Were you expecting me to interrupt you at some point? Because you know I'm more stubborn than that. I mean, I interrupt a lot. I know that. But in these scenarios, all right, fine. Thank you, Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music on YouTube. I want to play video games, guys. For the track you hear at the beginning and end of every episode. Thank you for listening, sticking around through this nonsense. Follow us on all the socials at Bracketology, BRACKETALLOGY. That is the end of the episode. My name is Scott.
Yeah, and I just to mini plug, get in the comments if you want to see Scott shave his beard until he has a mustache as well. Come look at this.
I won't do it.
Look at this.
You look like a rookie police officer.
If more police officers are like me, we'd be in a much,
I mean,
probably better, but like also
you look like
darker place.
You look like a background character in an episode of Reno 911.
Hey, if it gets me insurance. I'm Matt. Thanks, y'all.
I'm Dan.
Bye-bye. Wait, I didn't like that one. Hold on. Bye-bye.
That one was better.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying. All right.
Hello and welcome.
Didn't know you were literally about to start. Sorry, I just added in a sound partway through there. All right, you go. You go. I believe in you.
I don't.
Hello.
Wait, Scott, hold on. Is there
I deserve that.